Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Cynthia on Demand. Woohoo! Who is here? Let us see. I know Kate's here somewhere. She was. Where did you go? All right. So we're on Rhombus Healing Arts and Spirit Whisperer, and on our Holistic Mystic on Demand. There she is. So welcome. All right. We got all the things going today. So welcome. Who is here? Who is here? Welcome to those on Zoom. If you would like to be on Zoom for tomorrow, did you get a haircut? Yeah. Good job. I had a dream last night, an interesting interaction with my sister, and she had her hair cut. So I haven't checked in. But maybe it was you. Just saying. All right. So this is the on-demand. So the part of the mystic medic or our mystical sort of teachings that are free. And as we go through, we will be closing down social media and going to the Zoom link for those that have or are part of the Holistic Mystic Mastermind, which is, at the moment, it's 9 days free trial, but it's $30 a month. So it's 4 days a week. And the replays are in the portal. So did you get to the portal? Did you get my email with the portal? Yeah? Not yet? Yeah, some have, some haven't. Look in your junk email. If you really can't find it, let me know, and I will resend it. But those of you watching from social media, YouTube or the Facebook pages, there's a couple going. I'm not on Instagram today, but we are, wow, we did a lot yesterday. Did you catch yesterday's? You did, Kate, didn't you? I saw you. Did it blow your mind a little? Were you? I know. Yeah, something come over me. And when you get a whiteboard, I got my whiteboard here. Don't you worry. The whiteboard's here. It's going up. When I start drawing, something magical happens. Just like when I start painting, when I start writing, when I start speaking, I don't know what's going to come because I allow it. So yesterday, so you can go back on the Facebook pages and see part of yesterday's teaching where I did an overview of many, not all, many of the cross references in relation to different ways of knowing, mystical ways of knowing, energetic ways of knowing, spiritual ways of knowing, whatever you want to call it. And ultimately, it's about aspects of ourself that we may not be fully conscious of, and becoming more conscious of how we are, how we work, so that we can be in relationship with ourselves and others, right? I generally say yourself, so you and yourself to the self, okay? It's these relationships. Or we could go, yesterday I talked about the threes, all the threes, you know, could be mind, body, spirit. It could be, for me, it's body, soul, spirit, because that's the mystic path of the human evolution, the human conscious evolution. So if you missed that, go back, because there was so much in it. But what I'm going to do over the weeks is unpack some of that, but also in the mastermind, hear you, and you can ask and share what you need, what's going on for you, so I can see you, I can feel you, I can activate aspects of, and we will be going into the processes. So on the free, I'm not doing process, right? It's information, although usually I do go into a little process, right? And even just the activations or the energy that is in this container is activating or initiating or whatever you want to call that, sparking, catalyzing. The reason why, and I said yesterday, so I'll just go over it quickly, we have this other container is because it is a container. It's a safe container for those that come, and we build that energy over time. So, we still want to connect with you publicly, but we have to have a smaller platform where I can say what I need to say and not get kicked off social media, right? Not be cancelled out. And there's certain words that we can't say, or there's music, or there's different things that we can't use. So here's to your cosmic love. This is my cosmic love cup. There's me, and there's Eric, and there's the globe. Do you remember Cosmic Love? Still there. Still Cosmic Love page there. All right. We've got some people coming on. Oh, welcome, Rebel, and Fiona's just popped on. Welcome, welcome. So let me know who's watching online so I can connect with you, and you can get the most out of where we're going to go. So, every day I plan a little something, not really plan. I guess in my meditation, in my personal work, I'm listening. So I connect with the beloved, I connect with the Divine Mother, the Divine Father, and I'm listening and I'm viewing and I'm getting information. So I'm teaching you and modeling to you how to be, and then are into the world. Like, what's your frequency? Where is it in your world, in your life, in your experiences that you want something different, or you're not quite understanding? So today, we'll see if we get there, right? It's around completion, what's complete. But before we get to that, we're going to look at some other things. So if there are any questions from past lives that you've seen, or past lives, you know what I mean, past life, past lives, yesterday. All right, pop them in the chat, and I will endeavor to get to them. So have a breath. And welcome. So just feel in whether I don't have the gong here, it's over there, but I can get it if you feel you need it. But we might be able to just be in the breath. Create this container as large as it is, and start bringing in what you need, right? What you in particular might want or need. Okay. So this is the demand part of it, or on demand. So it's the free, where you can see it on the social media. We'll go for about half an hour, and then we'll change over to the mastermind. So if you're in the mastermind and you're not on the Zoom, jump over to the Zoom now. I can see some of you there already, so that we can just nicely shift over. The mind. So yesterday I talked about the three minds, or in a nutshell, I talked about a lot of stuff, too much to even contemplate really right now. It's like, I think I blew my own mind, but that's what happens, because as I start to talk about one thing, it's connected to the next thing, it's connected to the next thing. It's like I see the whole picture, and so it's about bringing you the picture, and then taking a jigsaw piece puzzle. So I often work the opposite to what the general mind works, right? The general population. I see it all, and then I break it down. And some of you might work the opposite way. You have the pieces and you collect the pieces until you can see enough of the image of what you want, of where you're going, of whatever. And so, and there'll be a combination of that too. So those of you that have done processes around future self or viewing or getting your own information, you may get tiny specks of the information, and it's frustrating. Yeah, those of you that get that, it can be frustrating because you're like, what does that even mean? Right? But as you move with that, more comes and more comes. And it's almost like the more you try, the less you get. The more you try. So that's been a theme. You know, we want to try harder. I was saying that on, I think it was last week, was it? That I was saying, you know, we want to try harder. It's not about trying harder. If anything, it's about sort of releasing the expectation on yourself. Yeah. Releasing the expectation on yourself. Now, pardon me. So I'm going to start into a bit of a teaching, and we'll see where it goes. It's about the mind. It's about the mind and the qualities or faculties or the functions of an aspect of mind, because like I said, I started to talk about the 3 minds. In fact, there's 6 minds. Not to confuse you, when we speak of mind, like, okay, what do you think of when I say the mind or your mind? Let's say your mind. What is your mind? And where is it? Where do you think it is? So as you're doing that, I'm just going to keep talking, right? Because the mind has many functions, and we tend to judge the mind. But do we? So I'm talking paradox here. So as we speak about mind, as we feel into what is mind, you'll get different ideas, different beliefs, different conditionings around that. The mind is vast. And one of my gurus, teachers, used to say, faster than God. The mind is faster than God. So as I say that, what comes up? What comes up for you? Just contemplate that. So as I speak, just write down things and go, well, I'm gonna meditate or contemplate on that. Contemplation is more than meditation. Contemplation is you know, my daily way of being. Contemplate, right? And some may say that the soul is part of that, the God part, right? I'm not saying it is or isn't, and getting you to see what triggers you and what you believe and how that comes in, right? So we're going to get into it a little. And then I could say, well, where is the soul for you? Where is the soul? Because the ones that are watching, I can see some of you, you're going to say different places. In fact, if I ask you to quickly put in the chat, it's just what you believe or you've been told, right? Where is soul? Some will say in the head, some will say in the heart, some will say at the back of the head, some will say in the spine, some will say in the base of the spine. We could say the base of the spine is where it sleeps. It's the slumber place. So you could say that, so I can't see in, obviously, oh, hello, Lisa. Where is yours? Is your soul? Let me see this chat, see if the heart, someone said the heart. Let me get this chat up so I can see it. It's like a computer in the mind. So we could also say the mind is around the body. When we tap into the mind, is it actually even in the body? Again, contemplate it. What is acceptable to you based on your beliefs and conditioning patterns of mind and soul? Right? And mind is fast. So when we say faster than God, mind is very fast, because we could say the beloved God, supreme soul, whatever you name that, no-thingness is all of it. Right? But anyway, that's for you to contemplate, because it's going to do your head in. And this is this is why we do contemplations, right? So everywhere, Lisa says. All right. So the mind is fast. So when the heart, so who was it that said heart? Someone said heart. Kate, I think. Yeah, Kate. So let's just say that for now, because people are contemplating, right? Let's just say when the heart tries to give you a message, or when the soul tries to give you a message, or when something greater than you tries to give you a message. This is my point in asking those questions. So I'm not here to answer those questions for you right now. However, maybe later. But to get you to get to this point where wherever you see it, so let's just say the tip of 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 the soul might be in the body. And when that, and just say that tip touches the heart. Okay, so let's just say that for now. And it's trying to give you a message. Your mind takes over that message super fast. Super, super fast. Corrupting. So those of you that have done intuitive studies with me, ISP, do you recall? Because some of you that are here, you may not recall. It's been a while, right? That I was always saying about corrupted information. That you need to be a clear conduit because of this. Because your beliefs and conditioning. So when you get a piece of information, you start to build the picture around that information, bring it in, give it to the person as if it is the truth, all truth. It's corrupted by your aspect of mind, lower mind, little mind, egoic mind, what's been programmed, what you've lived and experienced. Yeah. Not necessarily bad, not necessarily good. Just getting to this is how we are working, yeah? So today's not going to be as magical in the same way as yesterday, because, you know, I got to blow your minds and then let you recover a little. So this is about unpacking a little bit of it. So tomorrow we might, you know, or later on in maybe 20 minutes, we'll blow your mind again. Right? So it corrupts. So the mind, in the way we're talking about it today, is sort of like an animal. It's a kind of animal. It functions, and its behavior can be like an animal. So any of you got dog? Well, the ones I can see, I know I've got dogs or have had dogs, and are very much animal lovers, right? As I am. And I've trained many a pet. I've even trained llamas. I was the llama whisperer. Don't know if you know that, but I have trained animals since I was probably 8 years old. Mice, guinea pigs, lizards. I never had a flea circus, but, you know, there's always, you know, there's room, there's time. But training animals. I don't know, fleas are not technically an animal, but you know what I'm saying, right? Birds. Oh my goodness, birds, right? So creatures, but we could see, you know, that the mind can be trained. We can train it. It's like you have a pet. And some may say to be devoted to this pet or this part of the mind, give it devotion. What happens if you give a puppy devotion, right? And it grows up. I don't know. I've had big dogs, Great Danes. Like, if my Great Dane, my last man, you know, my Great Dane, if he had have jumped on you, you would be lucky to survive. He was so solid and huge. He was the run of the litter, but his head was twice the size of mine. His paw was as big as my hand. When he trod on my foot, it would bruise me. If you don't train that pet, a chihuahua maybe not so bad, but they're like nippy. They might bite you, right? Bite your ankles, or urinate everywhere, or not be house trained, or overeat, whatever it is, or chew the furniture, or chew up, you know, those, chew everything. You've got to train them. That to me is care, compassion, empathy, because this little thing is going to grow up to be this huge monster in other people's eyes. When that dog runs at the fence and he's twice the size of me, it's going to scare you. If we train the dog not to run at everyone that comes to the fence, but to wait for certain cues, right? You know that to sit. I don't know how you train. I had hand. My training was always by hand, like sign language. Even the llamas, you know, you didn't have to speak. You could, but you start off by giving them more language, right? So I'm going somewhere with this. Bear with me. It's not about animals. It's about the mind as the animal, right? And at the start of training, if you don't know, you're saying sit. And sometimes you might train with food to start with, or a treat, or some play. It's all different ways. They get to know the reward, right? They get to know the stimulus, so that eventually you don't need so much of the stimulus, and the trigger is enough to create the pattern of behavior. With me? So when you say sit, the puppy will sit if you're lucky. Right? But I trained like this. I had, you know, that was sit. I just had to go like that, and my dogs would sit. I didn't have to say anything. But that was training. My mind is similar. I've trained my mind. It's ongoing, as is, you know, being with an animal. It's ongoing. There's different things as you get rolling over. Why would you want a dog to roll over? Why would you want to train an animal, a cat, a dog, a bird, all of them? What we did was train them so that I could touch and massage in between their toes. Why? Because sometimes they get things stuck, and they might have to go to the vet and have the vet inspect them, you know, in their teeth, putting your fingers around their teeth. I know it sounds horrific, but dogs and cats, animals, or even birds, teaching, you know what I mean? How to handle them, so they know if anything ever happened, that animal's not going to go wild when you're trying to help it and assist it, you know? So, you know, clipping their nails, you have to train them as they're young, so that when you start to actually do it, they're not freaking out. They barely even know that you're doing it, because they're so used to these patterns of behavior, right? So that's enough. You get the idea. It's enough on the animals. So as we wouldn't kick around an animal, we don't kick around the mind. And if you do kick around animals, I'm not sure why you're here on this channel, because, you know, we have a reverence for creatures here. But you train it like the dog or the animal. If it jumps on you or tries to scare you, or tries to scare people away, you train it with respect. Lisa said she trained her dog to wash its feet before coming in the house. Awesome. See? My llama, one of my llamas, would come in the house and she was as big as a horse. Not all the time. It was really just a party trick, you know, right? But she was trained that she could do that and not freak out. My other llama couldn't. Giselle, she was she was smaller but crazier. She was just crazier. So, you know, different temperaments. And so are all of you, different temperaments, different conditioning, different triggers, different things that scare you. So we're not being letting the mind run the show. We're not letting the animal run the show, because otherwise Lisa's dog wouldn't wipe its feet before it came in. My dog would run at the fence and scare little kids walking past. Your cat might claw up the screens and, you know, chew at your furniture, or whatever it is. Your goldfish might, I don't know, you know. Anyway, I know people like fish too. I like fish as well. So the mind's characteristics. What do you think some of the mind's characteristics are? Anyone? So we'll start talking about it, but I want you to think, right? Helps you. So the mind is analyzing, right? The mind will analyze. Why do you think it analyzes? And if you're on, you know, if you don't want to, just take some notes, especially if you're on the mastermind, so that we can talk about it later, because we're going to go into something shortly where we can do a process. So for those of you on the Zoom, take some notes. Like, why do you think it's analyzing? So I'm going to give you the answer, but I want you to contemplate it too. It's comparing. So those of you that I've taught the numbers to, the soul body's 1, negative mind is 2, positive mind is 3, right? Neutral mind is 4. So the mind, what does it do? It compares, it measures, and ultimately it's a measuring instrument. What's safe, what's not safe. It has some judging, which is the consequence of measurement. It's an instrument of measurement, is a simple way of saying it, really, just a layman's term. I'm not using any, you know, psychological jargon and whatnot. A lot of this is ancient wisdom that psychology got from. In the mastermind, I'm going to give you something that's from the Vedas, that if you're in Relevate, you'll see it's like over 5,000 years old. And in psychology and psychotherapy, they're using the near exact information. It's so beautiful. And that's why these are the mystic truths, because it's where they're seeded from, and it grows. And then other disciplines and whatnot claim these as their own, and then put gates there, you know, that, oh, you can't do this unless you're a psychologist, and you can't do this unless you're a doctor or a nurse or a this, that, or the other, which there are, right? So the mind will judge that, will measure that. I understand some of the reasons, and I also understand the other side of it. It's a paradox, right? Because these truths are for everybody. So it's an instrument of measurement. And the other side, I mean, it can be used wisely, but then it can bring in that energy of pride and shame that can follow judging. So a judgment, like we judge. And those that say, oh, I'm spiritual, I don't judge. Well, spiritual people don't lie either. And if you say you don't judge, it's technically a lie. Listen to me. Hear me, people. Think about it this way. You have to make a judgment in every moment. Do I come on this live? Do I eat now? Do I put honey in my tea? Do I have coffee? Do I put milk in it? Do I have cold tea or hot tea? Do I, when I get into the car, if you didn't judge, you wouldn't get in the car. Cars seem to be my theme. I think the last 3 lives I've mentioned vehicles and cars and yeah, anyway, so, right? But you wouldn't. And then if you did, you'd probably kill someone because you weren't judging what side of the road you're supposed to be on. Measurement. There's lots of other words you could use. I'm keeping it simple. So we are measuring and working out what is, what isn't all of the time. And let's make it clearer, because I was a bit harsh maybe to some people, but what I'm meaning is that when we unconsciously judge another person, that's, I guess, what you may be talking about when you say you don't judge, or you would like not to judge, right? To project onto another. But we're making judgments all the time. So it's what you do with it. It's what you do with it. So it's like, it's not that you're not judging. It's like what you do with it. You go, is this person safe or not safe? Is this vehicle safe or not safe? Is this food safe or not safe? It is a judgment. Now, you may not want to use that word. Use it for another word. I'm using this word to sort of rattle you a little, because we need to see where your stuff is. So I'm just gently, lovingly rattling the cage of the creature that is the mind. How tame is it? How well trained is it? It's dualistic. It's dualistic. Just see if there's any comments on this. I haven't been watching that. It's dualistic, right? So there's the mind comparing and operating through dualism, right? If you don't have something to compare with something else. So some of you will remember that I was talking about the light and the dark in the same way. When you don't have, my painting I was working on yesterday, if you don't have, like I'm bringing in the lights of that, it's actually silver, but it looks like white, right? The metallics in it. I'm bringing the whites forward, and then I'll bring in more darks to push it back. Light brings it forward. Well, generally, when you're painting sky and ocean, it's the opposite, but we're not doing a painting class today. So, but when you've got the comparison, it's more information, right? The two. Mind needs to maintain its duality. So this is the issue for some. It may manipulate to ensure duality. You may manipulate to ensure that you have that. Why do you think? What's it? I mean, again, I'm not going to judge you in that way, right? Because it's just other information that we could go, I didn't think of it that way. Oh, I didn't think of it that way. So our mind, an aspect of our mind, right, manipulates to ensure that that's there. It's a filter for reality. It's a filter. Safe, unsafe, like, don't like, light, dark. Yes, no, love, fear. It's a filter. So, like the sun, when you stare at it, please do not stare at the sun. But if you did, and you want to see with your physical eyes, then maybe it's not a good idea that you do that. If you stare at the light, and actually on a side note, if you look at energy, those of you that are energy workers or want to be, never look directly at the energy you're working. Why do you think? And I don't know if you've ever heard this other than from me. I mean, right? When you look at energy, some of you can see it, some of you can't. So when you're moving energy, I didn't plan to tell you this, but it's coming in. When you're moving energy, you don't look at it. You look off to the side. It can blind you over time. So a lot of the mystics and all that in cartoons and all that, are they not blind? In the Grimm's fairy tales and all of that, the old woman is always blind. Anyway, that's just a side note. But you do not. So I see energy. I see when I'm working. I see the color of it. For me, it's generally this blue. Hence, I swim in the blue. Right? There's different colors for different things. Do not look at it. You can see it from the peripheral, but it's like the sun. Do not stare at the light directly. There's a couple of times where you can, but I'm not going into that today. Right? You can Google it yourself, or we can talk about it another day. So the mind is like a window or a lens, and we can use it differently, right? So until you reach an extremely liberated, let's say, or awakened state of being, you will need that lens. Why do you think you would need that lens in how I've spoken about it so far? Any thoughts? I can see Kate moving her hands and talking. You know, why do you think? I mean, if it's a lens or a window or a filter even, on one side it's a problem, right? It can be seen as a problem. I'm analyzing things too much. I'm bringing it into a particular way of seeing it, right? It's a filter according to your reactions or your patterns or your history or your social history, aka your beliefs and conditioning patterns. But if you take it away, so there's the other hand, oh, what? Because we got two. If you take it away, there's dysfunction. Why do you think? Why do you think if you took that filter away, there would be dysfunction, or there would be some sort of difficulty in your life in another way? Filtering info. Yeah, Lisa's with us. She's answering on the rhombus. Yeah. So So let me put it this way. So I'll bring in some other information that might be a little interesting, because this could be a bit dry for you, right? I'm leading somewhere. I'm leading somewhere. When you start working on opening or turning on your dormant sensory system, what happens? Show me with your hands, those that I can see you. I know you know the answer. You open, you become more receptive, more data, more information comes in. You have access to more and more and more and more. And as those filters or veils lift and shift, meaning that you can be out of the mind. My work, the work we do here, is getting you out of your mind, but in a way that you can handle. If I took the lenses away like that, you would feel like you've gone insane. And maybe some of you have already felt that. It's just so much bombardment of data, information, energy, that you can't decipher any of it. Yeah? So here we are. Too much, not enough. Too much, not enough. And on those of you in Relevate, what have I said? Too much and not enough is trauma. Too much energy too fast, too much information too fast, or not enough energy or not enough information slowly. They're the simplistic ways of saying this is the trauma. Hyper-aroused, hypo-aroused. So let's bring it in a little bit more. You liking this? I feel like it's a bit slower, but it's like it's got to be done. It's got to be done at some point, right? So if you take it away, there will be some discomfort. There'll be, you got to find your way to relate to all of that information. So there is a need for useful putting things in order and in the right order, right? To a point. Now, for some of us, that's tricky. Now, can you sort of see why more mystically inclined people are more circular? Anyway, that's a side note again. You might want to make a note of that, and we'll talk about it another day. Not linear. Because the information, the filters are less. And so there's more information. And although it's about, still being human and looking at what comes first, second, third to some degree, right? So that we can have an understanding, because that's what the mind wants. It is a function of filtering, appropriately filtering. And that's that judgment, right? That's that, oh, where does this go and where does that go? Even down to what drawer you put things in, or what you're going to have for dinner, where you put it in the fridge or the freezer away, right? It's we don't have to be right out there all woo-woo. You can be like, what's happening? What earrings are you wearing? Why? Why did you put the fan on before you were even hot? Well, I might get hot while I'm on here, so I'll put the fan on just in case, so I don't have to get up, right? Always. So we're filtering. So you look straight at the sun. If you want to be permanently blinded, go for it. But if you don't, you don't. That's a judgment. And you see in the old cathedrals and whatnot, it's all stained glass. That's a way that the light can come through, that you can look at the light, but it's not direct. There's filtering. It's linked to filtering and analyzing There's a categorizing where we put things together or we see what's similar and we put them in a box or a drawer or a container or a part of our minds or an aspect of ourselves that holds that information. But again, if we don't put things in a place, we can become dysfunctional at different levels. There are different levels of this. Because as I said, as you expand in and have less filtering, there's more information that you need to contend with. This is why, you know, if we talk a different language and say this could be spiritual emergence and emergency, when you're so flooded with information that you can't cope, dysfunction, you end up at the doctors or in hospital because there's too much information and no one's around to tell you how to regulate that, how to bring that heat down from the surges of Kundalini or activated, energy flow. Not to scare you, to give you power. I was going to say to empower, but I don't believe in empowering. I believe you have power or you don't. So this is your power. Your Shakti is power. And all the Shakti powers are for the human. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, let me know. It's a little bit based on what I've done in the last few days. But I'm happy to go back into it. So we're filtering, we're linking, we're analyzing, we're categorizing, we're putting things together, we're labeling them, and we're judging them. Right? And that's okay, as long as we're not doing it too quick. And I go, oh, I'm judging that person because there's these people on here and they're not talking, right? Or they're not on camera, or they're not, or whatever, right? Just an example. Or you meet someone in the shop and they're, I don't know, there's something going on, or you see them with their animal or their child or their husband or their wife, and it's something that you wouldn't be doing. So there's a judgment that is not a simple measuring. It can go further. And that's where the programming comes in, because that tends to happen when it triggers or ignites the program that the mind is running. And in other words, in Relevate, I've talked about it, because I can see a couple of you here that are in that. I've talked about it in the way of I just lost it. Repatterning, triggering, igniting, encoding, right? How it's encoded in early childhood. And then it plays out in every other relationship that you have. So the programs have a trigger, and that trigger comes in. And so here's where we go back to the training, because the mind is programmable. It was programmed to start with, meaning habitually patterned experiences. So it's either encoded from very young, just like a recording, and at a certain age, then it's through, they call it procedural memory, or by repetition, or by, so Kate's doing this, right? I see ya. You're right. Yeah, repetition, okay? So there's all different types of programming, but we can reprogram or train our animal. I don't know, does that trigger any of you when I call, your mind an animal? Like, we are mammals. We are animals. We're in that, with a human species, mammal. So nothing to be embarrassed about. We just are. I think we're awesome. I think the human species is so spectacular. We haven't even seen the tip, because when you understand conscious evolution and the full potential of our species, it will, I don't even think you could comprehend. Some of you, maybe some of you could. Don't know, right? So it's also automatic. Just converting things all the time. So there's a lot of things, and I'm going to go too far into that, because you know that you get into a car, if you drive a stick shift or a manual car, you know that when you first drive, it's all clunky. You've got to look at the gears. You don't know where your feet are going because there's too many pedals and all that sort of stuff. And then eventually you're driving an automatic car and you're going to change the gears. It doesn't even have them. Do you know what I mean? Because it's procedural memory. Like it's now a habitual pattern. You don't even, it's automatic. You don't even have to think about it. Do you see what I'm saying? Or brushing your teeth, or certain things that you do all the time. It's just automatic. So we're programmable. So these, you know, I had some other examples, but I'm not going to go there. We've got to turn over. We've got to turn over. But the key before we turn over to the mastermind is searching. You can reprogram. Like I said, these fine gestures, you know, you might start by going sit, or even using your whole arm, sit, or even using food, you know, and you just put it near their nose and they just automatically sit, little puppies, right? You don't, you're not even, you're just holding it there, and as they go like that, they naturally sit. All sorts of ways. As we're doing these, the finer and finer movements and gestures, training, you can do that too. And actually, I'm not sure if it's in the free, I think it's in the last two masterminds. I've given you practices that are hinting on, you know, what are you going to take out of what I said as a reminder through your day, so that you make your life your meditation. Yeah, Lisa said, Mum snapping her fingers. Yeah. Or that little whistle. I know that we're bush kids, so we'd be way off in the bush and we'd hear a whistle, and it may not be anyone to do with us, but it'd be somebody's mum or dad, and it's just like a tiny little whistle, and you'd hear it across the trees and the bushes and be like, all right, someone's being called, we better go back. You know, it didn't matter whose parent it was, we just knew, you know. So off you go. Or it might be we call it a pig call. It's a cooey in Australia. Like coo. You'd hear that and you'd be like, I gotta go. All right, bye. So you're choosing something, and it's like you hear it and it's like, boom, you can make that. I used to say years ago in Evolver course that if you don't have a meditation, then your mind will give you one, and it'll probably be you suck, you're hopeless, you're stupid, no one wants you, whatever it is that you got told way back. You're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too pretty, you're too ugly, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too something. And it's playing out. So you can give yourself the mantra or the words or the whatever it is. So this is real 101 in some ways, but it's so profound when you get it, because all of this is training the mind and reprogramming. You're reprogramming. And in Relevate, we're discharging deeply the core of what's there. But what you can do for yourself is, those of you that are searching, like that, the mind wants to search, and it can become like you're lost in the search. You're searching and searching and searching, and you become more lost, because you don't even know what you're searching for, because it's unconscious. So this lens, the filter, and the mind can become like this one direction telescope, but you're missing things. It's like you're looking through this tiny little, but you're missing the peripheral. And if seeking already has a criteria, right? It already has what it's seeking for, but you have no idea what that is because it's been programmed way, way back when, and it's unconscious. So you have these patterns of behavior that you're going and going and going, and you feel it's getting lost, more lost, more lost. You don't even know if you hit it because you don't know what you're looking for. Ooh, feel that. Like that is, write it down. What are you looking for? Do you even know? Do you even know? Right? So if you're seeking, you already have a criteria. So how will you know when you find what you're searching for? So you're seeking things that fit that criteria. And you've heard this before, like, you name something and then all of a sudden it's everywhere, like the yellow car. Remember that? We used to call it punch buggy in Australia. If you see a yellow VW, it's like punch buggy, there's a yellow, right? It's a game. And once you start doing it, you see them everywhere because you're looking for it. And this is what you're doing, right? If it doesn't filter it out, if you filter it out, it means you're blind. If you're filtering out, so if you're looking through the world, searching for an unknown criteria, you're blind. And what did Helen Keller say? You know Helen Keller? It's a saying of hers. Let me see if I can remember it. Oh, I can't remember it. It's something, I'm going to paraphrase it. I'll probably ruin it. It's something about, she said, because she was blind, right? She said, it's worse a mind that's blind than eyes that can't see, or something like that. So she's basically saying, if you have no vision, not seeing, if you have no vision, it's worse than being blind. So this is the inner seeing and the inner desires and knowing and whatnot, right? So there are things you just won't see and you won't want to see. You don't want to see it because if you, I mean, there's lots of reasons, but you don't want to see it. It'll create a breakthrough, and that will be dangerous to your belief systems. And this is why it's not that easy to just break through that belief or break through what's holding you back or start to see with greater vision. Mystics, intuitives and whatnot, a very good indicator of who they are is their peripheral vision. How far they can see into the peripheral, right? So there are teachings that we can do, and if you're interested, I can teach you. It's very simple, but it's something that you do regularly to get that periphery on, to get your physical seeing on, which helps with your other seeing, right? Because those without vision are worse than, not being able to see with your physical eyes. Anyway, I probably misquoted her, but you get the gist, you get the idea. So there are things that you just won't see. So when taking in of this information, the mind will imply See, not search. So this would be somewhere to start, to see, not search. Don't be a seeker. I remember many, many years ago, I heard a teacher say, a seeker is sick and broke. Sick is a sick and broke, right? Because they're blinkered. They're not able to see the whole picture. So if you want clear, you want to be like clear charge, clear the charge, discharge the voltage on that information that's held in your body and in your system, reprogramming the mind. So if you want that, come and join us at Relevate. We're going to pop over to the Mastermind. I've gone over time, so we'll do a little bit of a session, and if you need to go, then you can watch the replay on the Mastermind. So for those of you on social media, thank you for joining us. Let me just see. And I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. So today we started at 2 p.m. Tomorrow is 9 a.m. And we'll continue to share. I'll put the links to what I mentioned under the posts later. Or you can direct message me or email me if you want to know more about those programs. And if you want to join us on the Holistic Mystic Mastermind, which we're going over to now, pop a WM in the chat and I will send you the link so you can join us tomorrow. All right.